people in the Bay Area woke up to look at that orange and red skies, the smoke blocking the sun, some saying it feels apocalyptic.
Wildfires continue ripping through the nation's western states, and right now California is seeing the worst of it.
Across California, crews are battling the second, the third, and the fourth largest wildfire in state history, all at the exact same time.
Search and rescue teams started an intensive search for this firefighter spanning hours well into the night. They searched from the ground and the air with rotating helicopters constantly searching for them. But despite their best efforts, early this morning the tragic news came in that this firefighter was found dead.
Tonight we're exploring two of the extreme events that our country is facing at the same time. To the west, there are destructive wildfires burning across 3 states. More than 5 million acres have been burned. Thick smoke caused some of the worst air quality in the world. And there's a growing chorus from scientists and lawmakers that climate change has been fueling the flames. Meanwhile, in the south, the remnants of Hurricane Sally are soaking several states. The storm made landfall near the Gulf Shores as a Category 2 hurricane, bringing torrential rain and severe flooding. It's been a busy hurricane season. Sally is a tropical cyclone this year.
Families are returning to find piles of ash where their homes once stood.
There are no words. It's dumbfounding. You can't even imagine why.
But you know, it is about forest management. Please remember the words, very simple. Forest management.
It'll start getting cooler. You just watch.
I wish science agreed with you.
Give a climate arsonist 4 more years in the White House. Why would anyone be surprised if we have more America blaze?
The firestorm exploded across the West as many were sleeping. Ferocious winds fueling massive infernos from California to Washington. Burning out of control in Oregon, where at least 2 have died, thousands forced to scramble for their lives. Chaos and fear as families race to outrun a wall of fire.
You just grab what you can and get out.
Outside Medford looks like a war zone. Most residents have nothing left to return to.
We ran last night. We got half of our animals. We couldn't get the other half. We had to run and get in the truck and go. I'm 55 years old and I've never been homeless. It's going to be rough.
This video was taken by CAL FIRE as their trucks were driving by. A couple, you can definitely see the flames on their left and on their right side as they were driving by. Now, a couple hours ago, we were told by CAL FIRE that the Willow Fire currently stands at over 1,300 acres with 0% containment.
This power line behind me is down. I want to show you the power pole that fell right before my live shot right here. There's still flames coming out of the pole. You can smell it, you can feel the heat, and you can see the smoke coming out of this power pole right here. Just destruction everywhere you go when you're coming down Highway 162. And when I went to Berry Creek, we spoke with some people who say they're staying to defend their homes while others evacuated and are now, for the first time, without anything.
Across the region, raging fires and extreme heat creating a dire situation, decimating communities and pushing first responders to the brink. In California, near Big Sur, 14 firefighters overrun by fast-moving flames, forcing them to deploy emergency shelters like these, their last line of defense. One responder in critical condition. Near Lake Oroville, flames burst through dry brush, barreling towards communities as 20,000 evacuated. Some lucky to be alive.
I thought I was going to die. There was fire 360 degrees around me.
Across California, skies shrouded with an ominous haze as more than 24 major fires wreak havoc in the region.
East of Los Angeles, people were told to leave their homes after the Bobcat fire spread. The fire got within a mile of one small community last night. So far, more than 3.4 million acres have burned in California during this record-breaking fire season.
This has been a stubborn firefight. It's been burning since September 7th, sparked by a gender reveal party in Yucaipa. It's since burned more than 19,000 acres, destroyed several homes
and is 66% contained, which seems like a high number, but still we're seeing these flare-ups. Even Thursday it flared up. It jumps containment lines, burned along Highway 38 near Angeles Oaks, moved past Forsey Creek, and then continued to burn northeast.
So you have an overgrown forest, you have a dying forest, and then you have a warming climate. And we just went through a very hot, dry spell of a few weeks that just turned a lot of our grass, a lot of our light brush into, matchsticks, into tinder. And so when you combine these factors, long-term impacts from drought, from heat, with the short-term impacts of a heat wave and lightning, it's really just set the table for fires to explode in California and the rest of the West.
Exploding in size overnight, the Bobcat fire ripped through the foothills northeast of Los Angeles, destroying several structures.
We now see that it's even worse than we thought.
Intensifying winds prompted more evacuations as crews from across the country have stepped in. Firefighter Larry Smith says it's one of the biggest wildfires he's seen. What does that look like?
Well, think of 91,000 American football fields.
Well, it's been 2 weeks and there's still no stopping the massive Bobcat fire. It's now burned over 93,000 acres, forced new evacuations, and destroyed homes.
Burning Joshua trees and bushes light up the desert floor. Much of Juniper Hills is now a haunting landscape. Roaring winds forced flames from the Bobcat fire across this Antelope Valley community very quickly this evening. Angeles National Forest now says that winds out here at the Bobcat fire today peaked at 44 miles per hour. That fanned flames to the north, the east, and the west, making it almost impossible for crews to keep up with.
This is the Bobcat fire, a fire that we have been following now since September the 6th, since it's broke out over off of the 210 over in that direction. So far, it has consumed 93,842 acres. It stands at 15% containment this morning. This is an active fire and one that continues to go north as well as east, and that is what firefighters here are trying to contain.
Scientists decades before me were predicting that we'd start seeing big ramp-ups in forest fire. We saw ramp-ups from the 90s to the 80s. We saw ramp-ups from the first decade of the 2000s compared to the 90s, and now this last decade has started to make the previous decade look like the fires were child's play.
After 2 weeks of historic fires in Washington,
it's the state's worst nightmare. Over 56 fires in the first day of Labor Day and 600,000 acres burned in literally 72 hours. That's 5 times the amount of acres that burned in all of 2019.
Rain is finally helping turn the tide.
It is great to see rain behind us. I'm going to tell you, every day I pray for rain.
In Oregon, where at least 9 people have died, the search for the missing continues. The hazardous air is starting to clear, and rain across the Pacific Northwest has helped tame the flames. This week, more residents have gone back to their communities.
It's utterly heartbreaking.
Even after losing their homes.
They didn't get their stuff, but they got each other, and their families were safe.
But on top of dealing with these historic wildfires and the poor air quality that comes with the smoke, last night Los Angeles woke up after 11:30 p.m. to a 4.5 magnitude earthquake that many, including myself, have described as the most violent shaking we felt in a long time.
Hundreds of residents in the LA area were woken up last night by a 4.5 magnitude earthquake. It struck less than 2 miles southwest of South El Monte at 11:38 p.m.
This wasn't the only place that felt it. Take a look at this video in Long Beach. You can really see the security cameras sort of starting to sway here from this person's home. This was taken from a Ring camera out there. Now, Caltech says this quake is along the same lines as the Puente Hills thrust fault system. That's the same one that ruptured back in 1987 Whittier Narrows earthquake, and almost the exact same place, but clearly that one was much stronger, hitting a magnitude of 5.9. They were originally saying this one was a 4.6, but then settled on a 4.5 magnitude quake that we had last night at 11:38. But nonetheless, talking to folks who've been out and about, they definitely felt it.
The National Hurricane Center is warning of historic floods along the U.S. Gulf Coast.
The rain, which has been relentless in terms of how much it has fallen, and in sheets to where you can't even really see 200 or 300 yards in front of you.
These powerful gusts every now and then, and they are whipping up all kinds of debris.
This is the year that I kind of want to say, make it stop.
We begin with Sally. Rescues are underway after the storm brought extreme flooding to parts of Florida and Alabama. Some even resorted to getting around in kayaks in Gulf Shores, Alabama.
We do have a lot to get to tonight, but we begin with the tropics.
Frank is here now with the latest information.
Yeah, and take a look. Tropical Storm Beta right here. And look at this outer band, Dominique. This is just 90 miles off our coast. This will be here tomorrow night. So we're going to see rain in Galveston tomorrow night, and then it only goes downhill from there.
Well, Diane, my hat seriously just dried out from Sally, yet we've got others on the map and one in the Gulf that looks concerning. So let's go ahead and start with what we have. We have Teddy, that's going to be mostly an impact to Bermuda and some high surf along the East Coast, but nothing more than that. Sally's remnants moving out, and Tropical Depression 22. So this is the 22nd. If it becomes Wilfred, which is the next name, there's a potential that it could be Alpha, depending on which one, but it looks like Wilfred will be the name, and it could happen as soon as later today. So after it becomes a tropical storm, the models are having a lot of trouble with this. So there's a lot of uncertainty, but there's also a lot of time. And this is why I think anybody from Brownsville to Corpus Christi, Houston and Galveston, even Lake Charles, Louisiana, that was hit so hard by Laura, you all need to be on alert, because it looks like that wide cone on the outside of the actual track is the part we can focus on. And I will tell you that it's going to push water, no matter how strong it is or how soon it gets to the coast. It's going to push water toward the coast. That's going to impact tides and also the rainfall. There's plenty of tropical moisture with this. Easily could see 5 to 10 inches already by early next week in southeast Texas. Diane.
Amazing that we're already near the end of the alphabet in naming these storms.